And they're interesting because there is a combination between the practical and the digital, that we're using digital technology to remove things, not necessarily replace them, but to remove them. So it allowed us to think about characters a little bit more outside of the box, and to say, okay, it doesn't matter that we might see that part of someone's head, because this is a great design, and Gareth really wants this to look a certain way, and we'll remove that part digitally, and that's a little further push on. Some are completely practical, and some will require some, some extra digital work, and I think it'll give them a new flavour. I love that idea, and I think it's an idea that I would hope to explore more and more, which is where the two techniques come together, where you can practically bring a significant amount of a character to screen, but you can push it further than maybe the audience are used to by having the help of the digital world. I don't think that's been fully explored yet, and I think there's a lot of things that can be done in the future that will make from some extraordinary characters. So we design initially with the director. We design the creatures or the characters. So we have a little team of people who are concept artists, if you call them that, who pen up initial ideas. And there's no strict rules at the beginning. The idea is just to it's a bit like making a dish with lots of ingredients. And so we draw up the droids and the characters, however they might be, whether they're creatures completely or whether they're part human, any of these things. And so we quickly get to a point, hopefully, with the director where he understands, in a sense, the things that we can do practically. Because obviously we always have to be mindful of the fact that we have to bring these to life practically, that we're not going to use them as digital characters. And I think once he understands that, or she understands that, whoever it may be, we begin to get to know their creative mind a little bit as well. So there are certain drawings or certain creatures that they will react to more than others, and that gives us a little bit of a hint of saying, okay, that's the kind of direction that we need to go in. He wants you to be spontaneous. He wants the characters to be spontaneous. He wants to find that moment his way. And that's really intriguing, because instead of coming onto the set with a preconception of what you're doing and over managing it potentially, the idea is that you come on with a character that has a sense of its own, of who it is. That's all it is. It's like you and I sitting here right now. We are having a conversation and we're being filmed, and it's not rehearsed, we're just talking. And for Gareth, that's what he wanted out of the creatures. He wanted them to be part of the world, to make and they're not necessarily any more important or any different than any other part of his world, and that we would, in a sense, approach it in that way. And so when we perform them and when we're on the set, we're never sure when the camera will find us, we're never sure whether we're front of camera, whether we're in the background, and that has a brilliance to it. When we started with Gareth, which was interesting, was not a physical shape, but more as a kind of what is the body language of K2? So what is he? And you kind of imagine him leaning up against a wall and being kind of a little bit whatever. And that allowed us then to start to play with what would be the Empire alternative to C-3PO. I mean, C-3PO, is a wonderful, incredible, iconic character, but you wouldn't say he was exactly sprightly on his feet. So, what would the Empire be version of that? Something that you could take into battle with you, something that you could rely on and be supportive in combat. And so, as a piece of military hardware, he became. It sort of drove us towards this character that was obviously tall, very stealth-like, had very long limbs, ability to be able to cover ground very quickly, but also to have a kind of, as I say, an attitude, a kind of slightly indifferent attitude. Space Monkey, as a character, is played by Nick Kellington, and it's his eyes that we see. It's his performance that's coming through. So when Gareth was working in a very early test, a rehearsal. I think it was amazing because he immediately engaged with this character in a way that made it that much more, I think, real to Gareth. Was that he was actually talking to the character, and he was talking directly to Nick through his eyes. And although he's got this mask on, and the mask is animatronic, there was that absolute relationship.